So I'm not even going front to y'all. I usually don't give this cat the time of day whatsoever. And if you don't know who Paul Tassi is, then you probably aren't on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And that's probably for the best. So if you know, you know, but I said, what the heck? Why not see what Paul Tassi has to say about Marathon Season 2 so far, okay? So this is his Forbes article, The Good and the Bad of Marathon Season 2 so far. So let's see if Paul Tassi can kind of, keep himself put together, for lack of a better term here. So Paul Tassi says, Marathon Season 2 is upon us. Bungie is attempting to draw players into the game, not just with new content, but an extended free week where anyone can try out the game in full to see if they want to shell out $40 to keep going afterward. We'll talk about how many people have actually done that later on, but for now, I figured I'd go through what's working and what isn't. So the good in Marathon Season 2, Night Marsh. It's very cool. Perhaps it's my brand new OLED screen talking. All right, Paul, that's a flex, but whatever. But this place is dark, and it creates the spookiest atmosphere we've seen in the game so far. Moving through the grass in pitch black darkness, roaming through the desolate corridors with only a flashlight, the atmosphere is top notch. And I have to agree, if you have not played Night Marsh yet because you're scared or you don't want to lose stuff or whatever, get over that, jump into it. The atmosphere is incredible. The new tower/event additions are good as well, with Upper Complex being a sort of extremely rewarding mini raid, though more on that later. If Bungie wasn't going to do a new map, this was a good idea, and I have to agree with Paul here. I think this is the best thing that we can get if we aren't going to get a new map every season. Give us a nice change of pace like this, right? And it doesn't always have to be a night variation. I don't know, get creative there, do a anomaly variation of perimeter or something crazy like that. Again, they don't pay me to think. I'm just saying, Bungie, let's make sure we stay creative here, all right? The Cradle. Paul really loves this system, and I really like the system as well. I don't know if I love it just yet. I'm still like, it's still really green to me right now, but I think it's safe to say by mid-season I'm gonna be in love with it. But anyways, he says, I really love this system. It's a way to upgrade base stats without needing to go deep into the vendor system to get needed improvements. Starting from 0, I have been able to almost max my heat capacity / reduction in that row in just a few hours, just from dismantling loot and doing easy contracts. I'd consider this a very good boon for newer players who can get around some of the game's more oppressive systems much earlier. And yeah, again, I do agree with that, and I can see where the Cradle's going. I have not had a chance to sink in as many hours as I wanted to in the Season 2 just yet. So once I really get my feet wet and I can start maxing out some of those Cradle trees, I'm sure I'll have nothing but to rave about. You know what I'm saying? Or I should say, I'm sure I'll do nothing but rave about it. You know what I'm saying? All in all, though, my only complaint with the Cradle is it took me like 10 minutes to find it. I didn't realize you got to go to your shells, and then it was under a little subcategory or right under where you select your shell. So you click on the shell right there. It's like select this shell or something like that, and then access the Cradle. I'm like, bro, why isn't that part of the armory? Like, I should be able to access it from my armory or my vault, right? That's my only complaint, and I know Bungie can clean that up, Cosmetics. Yes, I will throw a microtransaction or two in here. Bungie is finally making truly unique skins that are attractive enough to actually buy. At least for me, I bought the Oni Thief instantly. If this game is going to have any amount of sustainability and needs good things to sell, these things are better. I have to agree here again. I think the Oni Thief, gunsmoke, absolute gunsmoke. Like, if that's the precedent as we move forward, I'm good with it. And then also the Season 2 Battle Pass skins, shucks, I think it's a Vandal skin, if I'm not mistaken, or is that Thief? Vandal or Thief, but the Assassin skin is OD. Like, it's beautiful. He got the coat draping like aura on a millie, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm all for that. Bungie dropped the good cosmetics. We'll spend the bread because we like looking fresh. I mean, it's been that way even since the early Destiny days. You know what I'm saying? Getting back to this article here, though, the UI, there have been a lot of changes to the UI to make it more intuitive and, more importantly, faster to navigate, which was the pain point at launch. Some great improvements here. Again, I agree. It was a little bit like marginally confusing for me because I got used to the UI in Season 1, but after I've adapted, I'm good with it. No complaints here. No complaints. Now let's talk about the bad. Man, let's see if I agree with Paul Tassi on the bad. If I do, I guess a broken clock is right twice a day, but it is what it is. Anyways, the bad. PvP-Lite. Granted, this is just an experimental mode, but the sponsored Night Marsh playlist is not really set up that well, and as such is pretty dull. The idea in theory is one team facing off against UESC enemies and loads of invading rooks. Instead, there are barely any rooks at all who lack motivation to go into a mode that is the riskiest in the game for them, and the rounds are mostly just very slow PvE marches, especially since you have to play for 20 minutes at minimum. If you don't do upper complex, which is very difficult for random teams, it's a lot more dead time than usual. It also shows that basic pure PvE, i.e. simply removing other teams, is not the way forward here, though a more in-depth PvE mode is coming. Yeah, I have to agree with that. And I won't even say it's bad, right? Like, I don't want to say it's bad. I did maybe 3 runs on this PvP-Lite mode, and I started nodding off, man. Maybe I'm just an adrenaline junkie, right? Maybe I'm not the target audience for this, and that's cool. That's cool. I have to say that a million times. Like, if I'm not the target audience, all good. I thought it was a cool way to kind of regain. Like, literally when season 2 started, that's what I did. I did 3 runs. Yo, what's up with this girl dancing, man? She kind of throwing me off a little bit. Y'all see this? Well, y'all probably will see this because I'll probably put it in the video. She was throwing me off a little bit, but getting back on track here, yeah, like, it just didn't really move the needle for me. It may be I'm not the target audience again. Like, I want more of a threat, and like, I didn't really feel threatened at all. My sponsored kit, I think it was the new caloric sponsored kit, so I went in with a punch. I love using the punch, so like, I'm poised to really rock out with that thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it doesn't really do it. Like, for there to be PvE in this game, it needs to be a bit more thorough. How they do that, I don't really know. You know, just saying turn up the difficulty of the bots, like, that's easy on paper, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that would entail, right? You can say load more bots on the map, but will that affect the server capacity and all that fancy mumbo jumbo on the back end? I don't really know, like, right? So like, there are a ton of variables in play, and I think Bungie does have to fine tune this, especially like when that PvE exclusive mode comes out in the back half of season 2. Like, there has to be more meat on the bone for the PvE homies to really vibe with, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe the PvE homies are playing this and they're loving it. And if that's the case, I'll shut up, cool. Just continue to fine tune that, Bungie, so the PvE homies are fed. You know what I'm saying? Back to the article here. Sponsored kit skipping. Easily one of the most common complaints about season 2 is what Bungie has done with free kits, namely letting players skip the early grind with advantages over non-kitted players instantly. The idea of everyone's on the same page, again, is erased within a day, and we're almost back to feeling like the second half of season 1 already. Faster progression in some ways can be good, but this is too far. And yeah, like, I'm kind of indifferent on this personally. Like, to me, I just salivate and say, hey, look, that dude's rocking my purple armor that I need to take up off him. But not everybody is like that. You know what I'm saying? My first run on Night Marsh, like the actual general Night Marsh mode, I ran into a team. We were trying to hunt a team, and it was a team of purple shield cats, and they were running from us, which is very, very interesting as I sit and think about it. Why are you running with purples and we had green sponsors? But I digress there. It just is the whole notion of, dude, I'm recording this video here on the 4th. Season 2 came out on the 2nd. So 3 days in, and it's a team full of purples. It's like, and granted, that could have been the only purples that they had, right? But at the same time, like, I don't think that was the case, because we wiped that team. We put that team down, and I looted the thief's body, and the thief had a gold implant, right? So I'm like, all right, purple armor, gold implant, like, dog, like, thank you for the kit. But if I wasn't, you know, more of a PvP aficionado, then like, I would have been screwed in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know how to feel about that. I think Bungie has to do something about that moving into season 3. I just don't know how you incentivize people leveling up, you know, like wiping their account. Like, you get to level 50, like, you get this, you get to level 75, you get that. Maybe do cosmetics, maybe do salvage items, you know, you get to level 75, you start with X amount of purple salvage, blue salvage, green salvage, etc. I don't know, but the sponsor kit thing is a little bit like blah, you know what I'm saying? It's just a little blah. And then looks like the last point of the bad that Paul said is PvE farming. And I would assume he's talking about the sponsor survival mode. Outside of the experimental mode, Bungie is encouraging players to do Night Marsh and upper complex / observation labs, or lens, by positively dumping high quality loot in there. Now, good players are farming that rapidly and gearing up in purple and golds that drop from what is a much easier mode than Outpost or Cryo. Again, this loads up these groups with purples and golds instantly, skipping the normal progression path of an extraction shooter. The problem is that between both this farming path and the sponsored kit issue, the cat is out of the bag, and this season just has to deal with the imbalance. It's not as if it's going to do a second wipe or anything. Upper complex might be nerfed, but if you don't farm it now before that happens, you're at a disadvantage. I do think the bad probably outweighs the good, given that the above problems that probably cannot be solved until season 3 now, and I think it will sap the interest of both new players getting stomped and veteran players getting bored. We'll see how this season progresses. Okay. All right, Paul. You know, I would say I have to either agree or be indifferent with the majority of what you have written here. And I'm not going to lie. Like, sometimes I know you be in your feelings, Paul. You be crashing out on Twitter and whatnot. But I can appreciate when you can set your biases aside and just, you know, approach this from more of an objective fashion. So I salute you there, Paul. Thank you. And I agree with majority of what he said here. You know, Night Marsh is a vibe. The Cradle is a vibe. I dig the cosmetics. I dig the UI. Like, quality of life is so much better. But the sponsor kit skipping, the sponsor survival mode is a little bit weak sauce. Again, just in my opinion there. And then what other point did he make? What else he said? I forgot already. Oh yeah, just like the PvE farming. Like, those really good players are going to farm. They're going to farm sponsor survival. And maybe that's what happened with that team that we end up putting down, that team of purples. Maybe they farmed that sponsored survival mode and yacked up everything, but maybe they were PvE enthusiasts and, you know, bit off more than they could chew getting into the main map, and we were able, of course, to walk out with purples there. But still though, like, yeah, I don't really know. Like, Bungie now cannot nerf that loot, because if they nerf that loot now in upper complex, people are going to be pissed, absolutely pissed, and they're not going to play the mode anymore. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Honestly, if you were to ask me, I mean, maybe you just leave it. Maybe this is just what season 2 has to be. You know, because by middle of season, even the average player should know how to run and get into upper complex and to run sponsored survival if it's still in the experimental queue by that point in time, you know. So maybe, you know, everything ends up working itself out. I don't really know though. I'll be curious to hear what you all think about this. How are you all gelling with season 2? Are you digging it? Not digging it? What do you all think about what Paul said in this respective article? Let's keep it civil down in the comments below. I read every comment. May not get to reply to them all, but I appreciate them nonetheless. Until next time, it's been your boy Cray. We are signing out. Also, I apologize for this screen just flashing white at me here. I do not have my bedroom light on because I was playing Night Marsh somewhat in the dark, and that just made it a little bit more immersive. So y'all got to deal with this here. But again, I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.